Our region's business is sponsored by PNC Bank, solutions that help you achieve your goals in life. PNC, leading the way. And by Heffron Tillotson, a history of meticulous wealth management since 1948. Our region's business, innovation, transformation, momentum, improving our communities and driving technologies that will shape our region for generations. The collaboration that brings vitality, prosperity, and life to living. Stay with us for the coming half hour as we examine in depth our region's business. Now, here's your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, brand piracy. We'll meet the Pittsburgh native who invented and has had to defend the cookie diet. Plus, corporations from across our region put some muscle behind finding a cure for muscular dystrophy. But first, some perspective on our evolving regional economy from three people who are paid to pay attention to it. As editors of three of our region's influential newspapers, Brian Hyslop is a business editor with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. John Oravecz is business editor with the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. And Lawley is editor of the Pittsburgh Business Times. And welcome. Good to see all three of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, all right. I guess you've all been covering business for quite some time now, and Pittsburgh in particular for years. I've got to ask you out of the gate what you make of what happened here at the end of last year, and have you ever seen anything like it?
That was pretty much unprecedented. I mean, most people were saying you go back to the Great Depression before you see something like this. And I think we're pretty lucky that we were here because Pittsburgh weathered this storm a little better than a lot of other places did.
It came on awfully fast, though, John.
Yeah, it did come on fast. I sort of remember back to 1982 when I was a business reporter at another newspaper, and I sort of get the feel that that it's sort of the same, at least in the Pittsburgh area here, as it was back then, which many people have pointed to as the last big recession that we had.
And yeah, and a lot of people hearkening back to the 80s or whatever else. Lauren, what do you make of, as Brian said, we've weathered the storm a little better. What's happening here that's helped that to happen?
We have. Pittsburgh certainly has been weathering it better than the nation as a whole, and continues to do so. I think probably will continue to do so through 2009 as well. But we have a lot of things going for us. Our economy, our industry mix has diversified quite a bit, and I think that helps. We have a lot of strengths in healthcare, which has stayed strong, and really certainly has helped the region. We also didn't have, sort of the stereotypical saying now, we didn't have the high, so we aren't having the low. And there's a lot of truth to that. That said, there were signs that things were weakening here early in '08 as well. Credit was becoming an issue, I think, for some companies in the area, just getting access to credit towards the beginning of 2008, and that kind of fed into things as the year developed.
And John, I think about that. A lot of the year I had people around here saying, what recession? I don't think anybody's asking that question even here in our region right now.
No, every day we see more announcements of layoffs and companies cutting back. Still, it's not as bad here as it is in a lot of places.
I think part of that was due to housing. I mean, the housing market was what led to a lot of trouble in other places. And I was reading that in 2005, housing was going up like 14% nationwide. It was like 2-something% here. Last year it was down 4% nationwide, but it was still up around 2% here. And I think if you avoided that disastrous housing bubble and the boom that came after that, I think that we ended up better for that.
Look around the country, those markets that didn't have as big a bubble aren't doing quite as bad right now. But the big question, I guess, for a lot of folks around here is, can we continue to withstand the storm, or depending on what happens nationally, does eventually it come home to roost in Pittsburgh here as well?
I think there's an idea that, I think there's kind of two divergent pictures. There's the idea that, this is Armageddon, and then there's this picture that Pittsburgh is completely insulated from what's going on in the national economy. And I think both are wrong. I think that, we are seeing some effects here, but it's going to continue to be lessened. A
lot of people always refer to as it happens in Pittsburgh later than it happens in a lot of other places. Some of the economists are saying that unemployment here will jump up to about 7.5% later this year, but it still will be less than the nation, which they say, I think, over 8%. But it'll happen here slower than the other parts of the country, and Unfortunately, probably it'll take longer to recover here than it will in some other places too.
Well, and that's been the pattern. I mean, I look back at the last recession in the beginning of the decade, and you know, we were hitting record unemployment levels right before, and then we dipped, and we finally just got back up to sort of that same level at the end, and now here we're stuck again in this national economy. I guess what's it going to take to, you know, sort of to break that Pittsburgh cycle of, you know, we just finally start to break through, and then here we are again struggling?
I think we have a lot of things going for us that are different this time. I think part of it is, they said before, the diversity of the economy. And even though we're still pretty dependent on healthcare and education, and those are still having layoffs, I think we have spread things out a little bit more. And we have a little bit of an emerging technology sector, and I think that building that entrepreneurship spirit, I think, is going to actually help the region if we can keep that going and find the money to keep people coming here and starting businesses. That's going to benefit us.
You know, nationally, small business is the top driver of new jobs in the country, and I think, you know, if the community continues to do things to build opportunities for small businesses to develop and grow, that is ultimately good for job creation for the region too.
One of the concerns I have is the technology sector here in Pittsburgh. We've touted that for a long time as being an emerging strength. However, we've had a lot of bad news in that area lately. Seagate moving out, Sony going to close their TV plant over in Westmoreland County, Ericsson closing down the plant up in Marshall, their offices in Marshall, I should say. Those were three things that people could look to as real signs that Pittsburgh was an emerging technology area. Now those are going to be gone, and we need to look for some new stars, so to speak, to rise.
All right. Well, we could obviously go on and on. Maybe what we should do is have the three of you back as the year wears on and sort of update the region on its progress or lack thereof. Brian Hyslop from the Post-Gazette, John Oravecz from the Trib, and Lauren Lawley from the Business Times. Thank you both so much.
Thank you very much.
The three of you so much.
Thank you.
And when we come back, a topic you can sink your teeth into, brand piracy and steps small businesses can take to protect their intellectual property. Stay with us.